Yay. Oh, it's so wonderful to see all of your beautiful faces. Hello, hello. Nice to see you all. Welcome. It is our Heart Wisdom panel, the books that save lives, Heart Wisdom. And I am so excited today. I was just saying to our guest authors, we have Rachael and Maureen. And I was just saying that I just feel like this is going to be perfect for this moment in time right now, this connection to our inner lives, to nature. And I wanted to, before I have our beautiful authors introduce themselves, I wanted to share a quote that was and is in Maureen's book by Andy Goldsworthy, because I feel like it kind of sums up what both of their books are speaking to. So Maureen quotes Andrew Goldsworthy saying, "We often forget that we are nature. Nature is not something separate from us. So when we say that we have lost our connection to nature, we've lost our connection to ourselves." And I just thought that was so beautiful. And if anyone here, I'm sure some of you have already had the chance to read Maureen's book and maybe even Rachel's, who's coming out next week. Yay! You'll know how apropos that quote is for both of them. So today we're going to be talking about tending our sacred earth and being stewards of both the planet and our inner lives. And so without further ado, I'm going to start with Marie Calamia. Welcome, Marie. I mean, Maureen. I'm sorry.
That's
I,
okay.
I was trying to rhyme everything, I think. Maureen, would you introduce yourself and let us know, like, what's top of your mind around your work right now?
Oh, it's I um the shift in consciousness that we're witnessing of humanity is top of mind. And it's not just a shift of our consciousness, but the earth as well. And the earth is, I feel like, reawakening to another level, just like we are as humanity. And we're seeing it through her earthquakes and volcanoes and weather systems and solar activity. The universe is like waking up to, I believe, a new level of consciousness, and we're being asked to see that divine, just like Andy Goldsworthy said. We're we're being asked to remember our relationship with the earth and with our inner selves, which so many of us have lost that connection to both. So, a pretty deep dive there to begin.
And that's what we
That's what's
love
on
about,
my mind.
you know what? That's what we love about you. Can you hold up your beautiful book cover so people can see? It's so,
Yeah. I mean,
oh, there you go. Yeah. Um, it is so I find it just peaceful simply to look at the book cover, which I love that. Yeah. So, and Maureen's going to be reading a little bit in just a few minutes, so we'll get to hear both of our authors. I was just saying before we went live, they have such poetic voices that I feel like it's really important that we actually hear some excerpts from their books. So, and Miss Rachael, before I have you introduce yourself, congratulations again. Your newest book, you want to hold it up, is coming out next week. Is it the 14th?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Yay. So, yeah, so what's top of your mind? I can only guess.
Well, yeah, I'm very excited to have this book come out, especially like what Maureen was saying, with everything going in is how we connect. We can't, if we're not aware of ourselves, and it's one of the things I talk about in this book is if we're neglecting our own inner garden, we're going to neglect our environments. It all goes together. All this energy, everything that we put in comes out, and it's trying to figure out which energy we are aligning with in everything we do. So are we aligning with fear, lack, and separation, or love, abundance, peace? We can't be both at the same time. So which one? And this book, I'm so excited that to bring it to the world because it really is about each individual. And so I'm just over the moon about that. And because it's not giving any one-way advice or anything like
Yeah.
that. It's just getting you to look at your own garden and figure out what you want to put it in, how you need to take care of yourself, but it's not a directive. So it's just a guide. And that's what I feel like so many people need is just some direction. Just all it is about staying with the energy we're in.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. I love that so much. And you want to say just a few words? I love the extended metaphor. I'm sure that most of us, get it right away without you saying, but do you want to just spell it out a little bit for us, the inner garden?
Yeah, so the inner garden, I just couldn't think of a better way to help people understand mental health broken down so simply.
Yeah.
And and it was after writing a blog, a year-long blog, Daily Aligning with Love, Abundance, and Peace, that I really got to see the importance of that inner garden and understanding that our weeds are our own, our plants are our own. We can
Mm.
pull things, we can plant things, but it's our choice. And
Yeah.
and and it's bringing that power back to the choice of what's in our gardens. One of the things my mom used to say, it's none of my business, it's I can't make you feel anything. And
Yeah.
and she was right. And it helped me get my power back.
Yeah.
Um, and then the other thing was it's none of your business what people think of you, so it's bringing it back to ourselves. In that garden is that perfect way of saying, how do I want my garden to look? How I want it manicured? What weeds don't I want in there? Some people like their weeds. Can't do anything about that. That's up to them. But I personally like less weeds. So I like to pull them.
I love the way you said that. And it's so beautiful. And it's so you from a loving place, right? Like, that's all right. If you love your weeds, you love your weeds. So,
Yeah.
um,
And we have no control over someone else's weeds. And that's what this book's about, is about taking back the power of what do we have choices in. And where our energy goes matters.
I love all of that. I love all of that. And thank you both. And while we're doing introductions, I just wanted to, I see Duncan. I don't want to put you on the spot, Duncan, but if you wanted to say hello, Duncan is one of the co-founders of Books That Save Lives. And you should be able to unmute if you want to. Will it let you if you want to?
Yes, now it has.
Hi,
And
Duncan.
hi, my office is at a house that's just covered with plants, so I'm outside in the garden enjoying the greenery around me, which is kind of nice with the subject at hand. So, and I'm really proud of Rachel for getting her book out. It was all of us, Macklin, and everyone worked hard on it. So I'm really glad that it's going to be here in just 6 days.
I know. Yeah.
Congratulations. So
Yeah. And Duncan, I love that. I love that you have all those plants behind you. It's so beautiful and perfect for today. And thank you for all your hard work. And Macklin,
sure.
also, thank you so much. Most of you probably know Macklin does a million things for Books That Save Lives, including helping us with the Heart Wisdom panel. So thank you, Macklin. Yeah. And then I wanted to ask Rachel and Maureen, I just wanted to ask each one question and then have you read. But a lot of times when I start different groups, and you guys have done this with me in the past, I like to ask if people have seen or experienced anything beautiful. And I thought today, since we are talking about both our inner garden and the outer planet, Maureen, I'll start with you. I'm just curious, have you seen or experienced anything particularly beautiful on this planet recently?
Oh my gosh. I'm drawing a blank, but
Oh,
it's not for lack of beauty. Yeah, I mean the daffodils coming out this week. I'm in New York, and it's just really beautiful to see after a really wild and woolly winter that we've had, and of course it's just the season of life and vitality. So it's really wonderful to see that, the seasons do change.
yeah.
Life moves on, even though we're in such incredible times right now. And Yeah, witnessing the spring season coming to bloom.
I I love that. And it just so happens you've got, I think you have a painting of flowers behind the book cover, and you've got a plant, and I believe you have some leaves on your shirt even. I don't know, but you are just like representative of the beauty of the earth.
Yeah, yeah. My house is just filled with plants too, Duncan. And yeah, it's I do feng shui too. So it's all about feng shui, biophilic design, bringing nature indoors. And then, of course, with this book, it's been more about connecting to nature outside. So, yeah.
Yeah, thank you for bringing us the daffodils. I love that. And Rachel, you can speak to the inner garden if you want, or the outer world, but something beautiful.
Well, my partner just planted not that long ago sunflowers all over our yard, and they're all coming into bloom right now.
Oh,
So there's all different sizes and different colors, and there's something about the sunflower that just is magical to me. So to have them every time I pull up into the driveway, and one's right next to my car, so right when I leave and right when I come in, it's right there, and it's one of the mammoth ones. So
oh.
it just brings so much joy to my face when I see it every day, because it's just that reminder. Keep working, keep working on that garden.
Well, yeah, and I thought what you were going to say. I mean, the thing I love about the sunflower, it turns its face to the light, right? Which has always been a beautiful
Hmm.
metaphor. But also, I find sunflowers to be absolutely beautiful even as they're dying, just like all of nature. But I think the sunflower particularly represents that. That there's a way it bows its head, and I don't know, there's something
It's my
so
time.
it's it's my time.
It's
I
like
love
that bow. Sorry
I
for
love
interrupting.
that. No, 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 that was beautiful. That was beautiful. So let's go back to Maureen, and I would love to hear what you've chosen to read for us.
Well, yeah, as I've been promoting my book this last year, I've chosen a few different excerpts, and this one is the beginning of chapter one, and I call it the baby seal discovery. So I'll start. While working on this book in early February 2022, I was walking with my dog, a Shiba Inu, along the harbor front. The road meets the harbor at a tidal marsh, which extends across to the other side of high tide, connected by a culvert running beneath the road. I've been walking along this road at least a week for years, enjoying the sight of shorebirds, including sparrows that bounce along the branches of black walnut, oak, and tulip trees, their songs ringing out through the marsh. Sometimes I spot a herd of deer in the field with one lookout watching me as I progressed along the road. Less frequently, I see a family of raccoons climbing down from their perches in the trees at dusk to forage for food. The land is abundant and alive. On this occasion, the wind was gusty at 20 miles an hour and creating a commotion in the canopy. As I walked along the inner marsh, I heard a moan, then another, then another. I stopped and said to my dog Sadie, "What is that?" The moaning stopped. At first, I thought perhaps it was the sound of two branches rubbing against each other in the wind. But when the moans stopped while the wind continued, I knew that it must be coming from an animal. I scanned the woods along the marsh in the direction of the moans, expecting to find an injured animal, but I didn't see any, so I continued. When we returned, as I headed back toward my car, I heard another moan and stopped, silently searching. I finally spotted a small black head moving back and forth. After a minute, I realized it was a baby seal. Seals are found in waters around Long Island in the winter months, but seeing one is a rare event, even on the beaches. This one was far from the water during a very low tide, meaning that it must have found its way through the culvert during the earlier high tide. He was trapped in a tangle of bramble, small trees, and dried grasses. He was struggling, and I didn't know whether he was injured, but it was clear that he was exhausted and stressed. Within a few hours, this baby was at a marine rehabilitation center receiving hydration and medical care. And I was so grateful that I had chosen to go to the marsh that day and that I had the presence of mind to recognize an animal in distress. I was told he was about 4 weeks old, recently weaned from his mother. If he hadn't been found by the following day, he may have succumbed to dehydration, exhaustion, or predators. As always, I tried to consider the message attached to such an unusual encounter in nature. In this case, what was the message that I needed to hear? That area along the coast had played an important role in my spiritual discovery and growth for the last 15 years. I have learned to hear the spirit of nature there. I have learned to share my own struggles and ask for guidance. The spirit of nature always responds and refreshes me. That seal delivered an urgent message through the lens of a metaphor, a call to action from the earth goddess, or Mother Nature, or Gaia, of the many names she's called. We need to take action. One act of kindness and compassion can be all that it takes to heal. A simple, simple act that attracts many other simple acts, which lead to an abundance of positive, life-affirming action. I felt that the nature spirits were conspiring and guiding me to success as I shifted focus to it, connecting with people that were like-minded and inspired and drawn to the natural world. Everything unfolded like a purple crocus in the winter snow. My dream was finally taking shape with this book. And the synchronicity of finding this lone baby seal lost in the woods was a metaphor for my foundering, trying to find my people and those who would not only be willing, but eager to share their stories with the world. If I hadn't found the seal, that was also a metaphor for the urgency of this message for the planet. His cries were an urgent call to act.
Ah, Maureen. Oh, so beautiful. Tell us why you chose that particular passage today for us.
Because, it's really remarkable that I find when I'm writing and I come to a certain point, as we're writers, we get to a point where we go, okay, I need more guidance. Just stepping out into the natural world,
Wow.
I always get the guidance. And it came through this baby seal to share about these stories. And what I did with that story here is in the book, I'm connecting it to the urgent message that Gaia is trying to share with us that
Yeah.
we need to wake up now. It's an urgent call. And also there was a personal message within it because there's all these layers, right? There's a message maybe for our career, for maybe the collective.
Right.
But for me, it was also very, very personal because I was just a few months later, my son was getting married, my first child getting married. And it was really synchronistic that the rehab center called me just a week before his wedding and said, guess what? We're releasing the baby seal to the ocean. You want to come down and participate? And I was like, so I went down and I had to drive out to the Hamptons. Thankfully, my schedule was free. And I remember I was standing on the coast watching the baby struggle to get to the
Oh,
water, the waves were just hitting it, the ocean waves. And it was, bobbing up and down for quite a while. And after a while, most people left. But I was one of the few that remained to make sure he got out. And I
oh,
just felt this sense of, you know, safety for him. I just felt so like mothering toward him. And um, it just really kind of welled up within me, the connection between the seal and releasing my son out into the world, who, so it was just really profound on many levels. And what I try to distill is in this book. These stories are so magical. If we could put the words to them and share them with others, that's what that's what we need to do because it awakens other people's stories. And like that reminds me of something that happened to me, and they may have forgotten it. So I do think it's just so important to verbalize our stories to other people. So thank you for allowing me to share that one.
That was so beautiful. And I know that Macklin is putting the links to the books in the chat so that people can read them because I can attest Maureen's book is it's just like so many of those kinds of just beautiful stories that connect our hearts. And the one thing that I didn't hear you say, I'm going to project onto you. I hope this is okay. But I also project, and this is a link to hearing Rachael read, which is that you're very present. You're very present as you're out. I know for a lot of us, sometimes we can get our heads filled with like the chaos of the world, or as Rachael was putting out, the fear and not the love, which might have clouded someone to not be able to hear that little moan. And so I
Yes.
also just wanted to appreciate what I was projecting onto you, which is also your what I imagine is a very beautiful, quiet, intuitive presence out in nature.
I try to do it, and really the fact that this particular spot where I take the walk along the coast is just really magical. It is sacred.
Yeah.
And I feel that. I feel that in the trees that surround me there. So yes, it is a practice of mindfulness, but there's also something about the presence of the trees and the magic of the wildlife there too. So working together, we create this magic.
I know, and you use the word relationship throughout the book, and I loved that piece. And so we'll probably talk about that as we go on a little bit, the relationship that we have with nature, with trees, with the animals. So thank you so much. That was beautiful. And
Thanks.
Ms. Rachel, I thought also that idea about presence is such a word I would use about you as well. And what have you brought for us today?
So mine's from the introduction because it really is where to begin with this book. Here I am to tell whoever picks up this book that it's time to reclaim our gardens. They don't belong to anyone else, and no person, place, or thing can stop us from deciding what belongs and what doesn't in our inner gardens. Reclaiming our gardens is about tending to our lives. This doesn't mean we won't struggle through days, weeks, or months. Regular gardening is essential to keeping our gardens healthy. When we do struggle, resist change, we know we have choices. If something in our garden isn't working, we get the choice on what we want to do with it. It's time to stop giving our power away to the relationships, struggling loved ones, pandemics, politics, fearmongers, events, and circumstances of the past over which we have no control. Now is the time to start focusing our energy on what we can do, what we can change, and who we can be. I'm not the victim of my story anymore. And that's all because I discovered how to manage and nurture my garden.
Oh, Rachel, that's beautiful. It's so empowering. So, I mean, of course, this is so much your work through and through, right? Like, and I love that you've given it a whole different angle and a new way to look at things. Why did you choose the introduction for us?
Well, because I feel like with this book, and in even in the introduction, I have a section on staying open because everything we believe is our perspectives of truth. And just to see it as perspectives and shift to it's a perspective and understand that we have choices in how we think and the thoughts and the beliefs and all of that, it's it starts with understanding that it's our gardens.
Hmm.
That's the beginning. If you don't understand that it's your garden, and because if you blame your parents or you blame somebody else for what's in your garden, this book won't work. because because they can give us seeds and we could have planted them but we have to know we have a choice to unplant, take out, remove, weed, whatever doesn't work for us. We don't have to believe things that the generations before us believed. New brain research shows we can change our neural pathways. So even the old psychology for trauma isn't as accurate as it is now. There's so many new ways to help our mental health, but we have to be open to see what we believe right now as a perspective.
Yeah,
And it's our time to reclaim.
I love that. I love that so much. And I
So,
wanted to offer each of you, by the way, Brenda Knight was not able to be here, the other co-founder of Books That Save Lives. And she is the one who does the magical pairing of our authors. And I wanted to say thank you to Brenda because I just think you two you're so beautifully, similar and yet so beautifully different in your messages. And I thought it would be great to start, since we love to sort of be organic and just see what unfolds. If there was anything either of you wanted to address about the other person's book.
oh, can I?
Rachael.
Well, your passage touched me so deeply because and it's even in this book. My experience with the banyan tree changed the trajectory of my life.
What?
Um, so I had bought a seedling from this giant banyan tree at Edison Ford Museum, and it's sprawling, it's huge, and I put it in a place where it could spread and grow, and it wasn't spreading. And I didn't understand why it wasn't spreading. It was just getting bigger and bulkier up top, and I was just like, okay, what's going on? It just looks like a normal tree. And so I talked to a professional because sometimes we need to do that. And he said, you have to get the dead weight off the top. The energy is going to all the wrong places.
Oh,
So I climbed the tree myself and started pulling branches. And the tree was what told me, you are focusing on the wrong thing. You're focusing your energy on the dead weight. You have to let go. As soon as I took off all those dead branches, the tree started sprawling. And within a few years, I think it was 2 to 3 years, the tree was fully sprawled and I left my toxic relationship. But it was because of seeing that in the tree and understanding that I needed to put the energy on me.
Wow.
I know. Wow.
What a
So,
metaphor. Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, that is just so beautiful. I'm curious, did you have that recognition immediately? Like, this is my dead relationship and I've got to drop it, or was it like a process?
So what was interesting is I had been praying for a really long time for signs, for messages, for what to do. And I wasn't getting a clear message to leave. I had already got another message that said, if until you're ready to leave in peace, you're not ready to leave. And I wasn't there. So I was like, okay. But I was like, what do I do? And so once I was literally in the tree when it came to me that my energy was focused on the wrong places.
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so that's when I started going to Al-Anon. I started taking care of myself. I started hanging out with my friend who's in here today, Tina Wayne Scott.
Yeah.
All of that happened at the same exact times because the
Wow.
universe opened and opened all these doorways for me to shift my energy. But that's what happens, as you know. If as long as your energy has to be directed in the right place in order for it to shift. It's not about words, it's not about what we want. It's our energy. And it was an energetic connection with that tree that got me there.
Oh yeah. And that is the gift
Yeah.
of being out in nature and just being vulnerable and open and, like Sherry said, present, because then we can hear the messages. And the message, you know, I don't know if it came to you in actual words, but oftentimes it's not like you're not hearing words in your head. Maybe you're feeling something or a thought comes. I mean, there's so many different ways of connecting to nature spirit, and people don't, you know, they don't believe it if they're not actually like seeing an elf or a gnome come out from behind the tree and giving them direction, and they go, oh, it didn't happen. Even if an elf did do that, they would probably dismiss like I'm going crazy. But yeah, I mean, one of the premises of my book is just that I believe we all have these stories
Mhm.
at some level, and if we are dismissing them, we're really dismissing ourselves.
Yes.
So
We're
yeah, I mean,
connected.
I love the metaphor of the inner garden because it is that connection. Our heart is our connection to Mother Earth, to our spiritual right as human beings. And I always like wonder like we talk about opening your heart, right? Opening your heart. Well, what does that really mean?
Hmm.
And it sounds like your book is going to help people understand the steps to do that.
Yes,
I love, oh,
thank
I'm
you.
sorry, Rachel. Did you want to
Oh,
say? I
I just
just
want to
wanted
say
to,
thank you for that. Yes, that's exactly what the goal of the book is to just have that awareness of what it looks like, what energy looks like,
and
whether
what I was going to say, I'm sorry, Rachel.
it's okay.
Well, I love that, and I mentioned this earlier, but I feel as if relationship is so central to both of your books and your lives. And the fact that Rachel just brought up the tree story reminded me one of my favorite lines, Maureen, in your book was when you asked the tree, "What can I do for you?" And it really struck me. My own spiritual teacher taught us a practice a long time ago of really pausing in front of trees and saying, I love you. Do you love me? And I love that practice because it really, there's something that happens in that, this unconditional love for all. But your line, what can I do for you? I feel like I'm going to add that on to my practice now because it's so generous. What can I do for you? You've been standing here loving, giving us oxygen, sharing your beauty. So can you say a little more about that piece?
Sure, sure. So, I mean, I think in these modern times, maybe these last few decades, people are opening up more to the understanding that going into nature helps us physically, it helps mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, right? But but that's like coming from a one-sided, it's still like extracting from nature. It's what
Right.
can nature do for me to make me feel better? And that's okay to start there. I think so many of us are in such need of that guidance and that support from nature that, they have to start there. Feel better in nature, get to a point, though, that you could turn around and say, what can I do for you? And one time, I have this circle of beautiful trees in my yard. And it's this corner of the yard that doesn't really get used, but it's this beautiful circle of trees, many different varieties of them. And one time I was just talking in my head to the land that I live on. And I said, what can I do for you? And suddenly I got this image of the circle of trees. And it said, we want you to spend time here with us.
Oh,
And I just got like chills. And I almost cried because it's like, I love those trees, but I never go over there. It's kind of out of the way. And I suddenly realized, oh my gosh, like create a little fire pit among them, some seating, gather around there, do meditation there. So it's like nature sometimes just wants our attention, our acknowledgement, and our presence. It could be as simple as that.
Ah, Maureen, that's so beautiful. I so beautiful. And I love that you started by giving grace to, you know, there's a lot of people who are maybe only just beginning to get out in nature or to appreciate what nature can help them, but that your grace in that and also planting that seed, planting the seed of like, yeah, what can we do for you? What can we do for you? I just love that. It's so beautiful. Yeah. Yeah.
I love that you said that too, because one of my favorite things to do is when I'm in the energy of abundance and love, I love touching a tree because then I'm giving that energy to the tree.
Yeah.
And and then I know that that's helping that tree's life because, we're all energy. And
Yeah.
so the more we can give the energy of love, abundance, and peace to something else, someone else, the better off we all are. The whole earth is. So I love that you brought that up because it is. And it's a beautiful, easy way to share our energy with someone, something that's going to appreciate it. They're not going to use words to appreciate it. They're going to give the energy back.
Yeah, exactly. And there's one thing I wanted to just throw in here. There was a book I read years ago, and it was on eco psychology and talking about the connection between our own mental health and the state of the world. And this person said, it was a psychologist that said something like, no other animal soils their own nest when it's healthy. And I went, oh, wow. What a metaphor for us as humans. And, you know, but it is, I mean, it seems like an unsurmountable problem, overwhelming for any one of us to go, well, how can I solve that? And no, that's like the wrong thinking. I mean, that's where
Hmm.
we all start out. But then you realize that just sharing the love of nature, getting out there and sharing that love with another, a child in your life, to introduce them, um, at being light and playful in nature, that
Hmm.
is doing a tremendous amount to fixing the planet.
I
Thank you,
love
Maureen.
that. And you actually led me right into something that I was going to ask Rachel, which is that Rachel, in your book, because I think in my mind, these are very connected. When you talk about the weeds, and I wanted to ask you about, because it's my impression that when we are lost in all of our own weeds, our fears, our shame, any of those like really hard feelings that keep us from feeling the love. I think it's hard not only to love ourselves or other people, but it's hard to love the planet. It's hard to do what's best. And so I wanted to see if you could let us know, like, for people who are kind of lost in those weeds, how do they start to gently, without judgment of themselves, start to kind of, clean that up a little?
Well, it's funny what that you say without judgment of yourselves, because that's one of the big messages throughout the book is self-blame is self-abuse.
Yeah. Wow.
Because there's a difference between taking accountability and responsibility and self-abusing with self-blame. Because self-blame is a punishment, it's a bat. Whereas accountability and responsibility is going, that's interesting. Let me see what I can do with this. I did this, but I guarantee you there's a better way to do it. And it helps us move forward without the shame because the shame keeps us in the spirals, in the weeds. So, one of the things at the beginning of the book I talk about is the different kinds of weeds. And one of the white weeds we tend to plant unconsciously is weeds in disguise. And those are the weeds that have the pretty little flowers. And
Oh.
so many people like to let those pretty little flowers grow. And those pretty little flowers smother the life out of all the other beautiful life in our gardens. But here's the thing, they come with I'm doing this because I love you.
Mm.
Oh,
This is happening because I'm telling you this because I love you when someone's really sharing fear. I'm you need to do this because it's what's best for you. That's showing that they want to control your garden. That's fear. That's
yeah,
them not trusting that you are capable of gardening yourself. So it's understanding and not beating ourselves up about when we do it because most of us have done it with our children. I know I have, and I talk about that all throughout the book is I take accountability for what I do give, but I do it to them too. So they know and learn how not to self-abuse
yeah.
through learning to just weed it out. Do better if you can. But if the weed grows back, just pull it back out again. It's an ongoing process, just like a regular garden is. So it's have some seeds that are very deeply embedded because they're generationally passed down. But if we keep pulling them, there could come to this point where all of a sudden we realize, wow, that's gone. But when you were talking about the environment, one of the stories I tell in the book is when I was so scared of getting in another relationship after my divorce, I used to sleep with books on my bed. The books would poke me, prod me, keep waking me up through the night, but my fear kept me uncomfortable in my
Wow,
environment because it was trying to tell me I have a wall up. I have a wall up and the wall is hurting me. But once we start self-caring and opening up, we'll realize we declutter. We realize we appreciate gardens. We realize we appreciate the things further and further outside of us, but it starts inside. So we have
yeah,
to give that space
yeah.
to let that happen so that we can start seeing it. Otherwise, it's this passing thing where like, oh, we got our gardens beautiful, and then don't do anything to maintain them, and so then they crash. It's just like when oh, New Year's resolution, I'm going to do this, and then we crash because we think it should all happen right then, but that's not the garden.
Wow,
It takes time. We can't clean a house and then let it go and go, okay, we're done.
yeah,
That's our mental health. And if we want to take care of our environment, our mental health is the first thing we have to take care of because this the fear shrinks us and tightens us. The lack, the separation, it all tightens us. So it's very inclusive. It's a it's a spiral that's very dangerous. But when we open up and see the love, we can start seeing it and spotting it everywhere, but we have to see it with ourselves first.
wow.
Because a lot of us have warped definitions of love. Love hurts, you know, love is a shame, like love is connected to shame. And no, those things aren't true. So we have to first see those things that are keeping us from being in the energy of it because our energy never lies about where we are. So the healthier we are, the more we take care of our environment.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
So,
Beautifully said. Yeah.
sorry, I kind of went on.
No, no, Rachel, that was beautiful. That was beautiful. And I do agree, that it's like that's why I wanted you to speak to that because I think if we're not finding that love within, it's hard to love outside, whether it's other people or nature. Um, yeah. I wanted to offer, if anybody's here, we love to hear from anyone who has, if something has spoken to you that our authors have said. Oh, I see Marlene. I'm going to ask you to unmute. It should let you. I love that you just jumped right in there. Will it let you unmute? No. Let's try again.
Oh, there it is.
There
Can,
you are.
can
Hi,
you
honey.
hear me okay? Well, the first thing I had one, it was directed to Rachel. And I love quotes. I've been a lifelong quote keeper, and so many of yours resonated with me. One that I really, really loved was when you said, we have to release ourselves from the yoke of yesterday. I copied down the quote. It said, I'm not the victim of my own story anymore. I just absolutely love that quotation. And another thing that resonated with me when you were speaking is I taught history for many years at high school, and I used to have this woman come into my classroom. She was a Holocaust survivor, Gussie Zaks. And the first thing she did in her presentation was look at the students and say, post Auschwitz, one luxury I have is no longer being able to blame anyone because she was on her own. And the message was to the students is don't blame your teachers, I don't blame your parents, etc. And I think that's what you were saying too. And the last thing I wanted to say is just as you sort of entered the confessional in this session, I read your book, and you also did the same thing in your book. You really exposed yourself, and that's why I just loved your book because it wasn't just this self-help. I'm on the, I'm pontificating. You were really spoke from your heart and to help people. And I just found it was so moving. And the last thing is, your cover of your book is absolutely lovely. But one other thing that could have been a great cover is the banyan tree with you with a figure sort of reaching because it was such a great analogy. So that would have been an alternate title. And I'm excited to give your book to some gifts for some friends who are struggling.
Oh, thank
Thank
you,
you.
Maureen. That's
Thank you.
beautiful.
Yes, Marlene was one of the people who wrote an endorsement for the book, so it's actually in the book. Back when I was trying to get it published back in 2022 was the first edition.
I remember.
So,
I love that.
But now it took root.
yes, and now
Analogy.
and timing is everything. It was meant to be with books that save lives.
Yeah.
It was meant to be in this new journey. It was meant to be, at this time. I truly believe in that. It wasn't its time until it is.
Oh,
So,
I love that. Anyone else want to offer a comment or a question? It's always so beautiful to get to talk to authors directly. Tina, you should also be able to unmute. Does it give you an option?
Yes.
There you
Now
are.
I see. Yes.
Good
Hey,
to see you. Welcome.
good to see you and everybody here. I just wanted to say how much that I love that both of you, weave nature into your books because, most of us, unless we live in, a city, we can look out the window and we see trees or, have a little plant in your office. And so when we read your books and we realize how important it is to be present and to connect with nature, every time we look out and we see a little bit of nature, even if it's a picture or a painting, the books ground us into remembering, yes, I need to stop. I need to connect with nature, even just looking at it. So I love that.
I love that too. And thank you for your role in bringing Rachel to us. Thank you so much. Yay.
Yes, well, I do love her but beyond the amazing person that she is she really does, as Marlene said, opens her heart. She's not keeping a wall up to give herself some facade of I've got everything together because that was something that always bothered us about a lot of self-help books is that you didn't read, the times they stumbled and they fell. They might talk about where they came from and they would go up and they would become this self-empowered awakened person, but it's like, but I want to hear about how you stumbled after you got to that point because we still stumble, even when we get to a certain plateau and we're like, yes, I've got it, and then we fall again, and so we want to hear that. And Rachel's so good about just opening her heart, in pure humility with just the goal of helping other people see themselves in her. So that's an amazing gift that she has.
Oh, that's so true. So beautiful. So beautiful. Right. Both Maureen and Rachel, it's again why I just feel like everyone should read their books because they are so full of the heartfelt stories. Those very real, authentic, like in both of those books, I feel like I'm right there beside you. And I think that's one of it's so beautiful when you're reading to feel that. And
well, and
speaking, Oh,
Oh,
go ahead.
sorry.
No,
I'm
no, jump in.
excited to read The Enchanted Earth because I'm in this place now where I am connecting more. Like I love nature. I nature walks. I'm always nature retreats, everything. But I love hearing all the additional stories because it just encourages me to see more. And like you were saying, it when we put our focus on one thing like that, it just opens the gateways to it. And so I definitely I'm like, oh, I want my gateways there to be open right now. That would be good.
Yeah,
You know, I'm
absolutely.
like, yeah, that's perfect. It's a perfect timing for this.
Well,
And
oh, go
and
ahead.
as a writer, I encourage you to even reflect on things that have happened to you. That, I mean, I hope that the book inspires people to remember some stories that go, oh yeah, that reminds me of blah blah blah. I haven't thought about that, and maybe put pen to paper and just journal on it. And you never know. As I was writing this book, all the magic that came out of these stories that I had. And then, of course, when I'm interviewing people and getting their stories, things were revealed that they weren't, you know, expecting to
Yeah.
come out of it. And they were like, oh, wow, there's more. I have to reflect on this. It was, and my podcast too, which is the same title as this book.
Well,
It's just really wonderful.
it's what I did a series on my blog called Lessons in Nature because I would take nature walks and I'd ask a question. That was one of my favorite things to do is I'd kind of get quiet, ask a question, then I'd go out into nature and not listen to anything, just be present, really focus on what I was seeing. And one of the times it's like I was on a creek and I was watching how the water flowed and a rock never stopped the water. And so it's like it's
Yeah.
connecting, okay, be the water, not the rock, be
Yeah.
the water.
Well, sometimes you need to be the rock, but but maybe that wasn't the time.
No, and it was just like it flow with life, you I'm gonna keep moving forward no matter what. I can't, the rock's not gonna stop me from moving forward. The obstacles aren't gonna stop me. So it's gonna keep moving forward. So it's that this too shall pass, literally.
Ah!
The water flows.
Oh, Rachel. Well, and I love that one of the questions I wanted to make sure I asked both of you, and I think you both answered it, but maybe you have more, which is that I was going to ask for anyone who might be listening now or in the future who might be feeling disconnected or stumbling, as Tina was talking about, those places of stumbling and not able to connect. So I heard two things. I heard Maureen suggest write about your experiences of nature. And I heard Rachel suggest ask a question and allow yourself to listen for the answer. But do you have any other like gentle steps that people can take? And Maureen, I'll ask you first, and then we'll go to Rachel.
Sure. Like throughout my book, I think in each chapter there's an exercise that anybody can do. Um, I mean, one thing is to just sit down. Just sit down, close your eyes, maybe put your back up against a tree. See if you can feel the tree, if you can feel. Sometimes people say they feel like something that feels like a breath, a tingling sensation from the tree. Maybe wildlife scampers around. Just, in forest bathing, they call it a sit spot. You know, take a sit spot and just spend, 15, 20 minutes if you can, longer, and just see what arises in nature. Yeah, something very
Ah,
simple, but yet not so simple in our modern lives.
yes, I know. But what I love so much about that is almost everyone, hopefully, can find a tiny spot, even if it's in the neighborhood park or the backyard, and that I know it's not so easy to sit still, but even I suspect even for 5 or 10 minutes would be a beautiful experience.
Yes.
I love that. I love that. Rachel, what about you?
So I'm gonna go off on that continue on that with that
Yeah.
because it's one of the things that I do when I am feeling really uprooted. And this is why I like the garden analogy too. When I am feeling complete chaos, my favorite thing to do is go out barefoot and put my feet on the earth and feel the energy of the earth coming up through me because it shifts my focus from the chaos to truly connecting and being grounded. And, it's like you're doing it to be grounded, you're doing it to be in the energy with the planet and allowing the energy to flow up through you.
Yeah.
Because when we're in that crazy chaos, we are not attached to our bodies at all. We are in our nervous systems. So we're in fight, flight, freeze. We're not there. We're not present in our own bodies. So our nervous system has usually taken over at that point. So if we can get grounded and just put our feet right under us, I am where my feet are, and just let the energy and feel it because tuning into our bodies is a huge part of knowing what energy we're in. Because the fear, lack, and separation will always feel tight in our bodies, and love, abundance, and peace will always feel expansive. So when we can get in tune and get grounded and feel the expansiveness of nature, even if it's just for a minute, we're tuning in.
Oh,
So it really does help shift the energy just to give us that grounding space. Because that space can be everything. And it may take 3 deep breaths, but
yeah.
just to give yourself that space.
Yeah, perfect.
I love that when you were talking about that, Kim's beautiful dog. Did Kim, I felt so like I almost felt like I could feel the energy of your dog, right? Which is another, right, beautiful part of nature, are the animals of this planet. I know. Thank you, Kim. Well, and I know we only have a couple more minutes left, and I sometimes when we have a little time like this at the end, I like to ask our authors, was there something that you were like, I wish I had said that I didn't get to say, or something you'd like to leave people with? And we'll start with Maureen and then go to Rachael. Some last words.
Um, yeah, I think it's a quote from Jean Shinoda Bolen,
Oh,
who wrote the foreword to my book. Our deepest experiences are never voiced and thus remain encapsulated and undeveloped. The part of ourselves that are only born of this listening never enters the world. Wow.
wow.
Yeah, so that's on my desk.
Wow.
Thank you, Jean.
Thank you, Jean. And thank you. I'm so glad that there's always these like last nuggets of amazing wisdom. Thank you for that, Maureen. Rachael, how about you? What do you want to leave us with?
So one of the things I love to do is y- when I'm reading something or when someone asks me something like that and I know I'm feeling in the right energy of it, I'll ask and then open.
Yes.
And so the quote that came up was, do the best you can until you know better. Then, when you know better, do better. Dr. Maya Angelou.
Oh,
So, I mean, and that's all it is. And it's just not beating ourselves up. Just be where our feet are and move from there because everywhere else is going to lead us in the wrong direction because our foot's not in reality. So,
yes. Wow. I really have to thank, I mean, Maureen and Rachel, this was exactly what I was hoping, which is just so much gentleness and so much invitation. I think that's the word for both of you. Like you're inviting people, and that's so different than some of the spirit of, trying to wrestle people into, to Rachel's last point, being better, It's so beautiful, the invitation that you both offer. I really thank you so much for being here and your beautiful books. And also thank you to Duncan and Macklin for being here from Books That Save Lives and for being the ones to allow us all to be here and do this. And thank you to our beautiful guests. I'm looking at all of you and anyone who might be watching the replay. I just loved these Heart Wisdom panels, and I hope you'll come back again. It really makes a difference. Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Bye-bye.